Assalamu alaikum. This video about pathophysiology, and today we explain the cell injury and cell adaptation. First, we must know that the function of all body organs related to the cell function, and when the cell exposed to inherently intrinsic factor or abnormality, this cell or this cell can, if it cannot adapt, it cannot change itself normally, so this cell will be injury. So any cell exposed to any inherently intrinsic abnormality and cannot be adapted, so it will be injury. What we mean by cell adaptation? Cell adaptation is the power of the cell to respond to stress. Is the power of the cell to respond to stress. How it responds to the stress? The cell will be changed as in its size or number or its shape, the phenotype. And one of the change that the cell responds to any extrinsic or intrinsic factor is hypertrophy. What we mean by hypertrophy? Hypertrophy means the increase in the volume of an organ related to the increase of size cell. What we mean by it? We mean that if the ribosomes, endoreticulum, reticulum, and mitochondria, when they enlarged in their size, so the cell will be enlarged, and then the organ will be enlarged in its size. Also, we have other change in the cell as adaptation. What we call it hyperplasia. This is increase in organ due to increase in cell number. There will be multiplication, increase in size number, so the organ will be increased. We have atrophy, decrease in cell size, decrease in cell size, the opposite of hypertrophy. In hypertrophy, the organ will be increased in size, but atrophy, the size will be decreased. Metaplasia, which is replacement of cell with another type as bone, cartilage, fibers, other tissue. Also, we have anaplasia, in which the cells are undifferentiated and associated with malignancy or cancer or tumor. Also, we have dysplasia. Here, the cell vary in size and shape. This is occur in long irritation or infection, in chronic exposure to any stress factor. And neoplasia, this is a new growth, as I said, called tumor, which is in two types, either benign or malignant. Benign, this is that not affect inherit the body, and malignant is very dangerous. Now, what are the causes of cell injury? There are many causes, but the first one is hypoxia. Hypoxia means the reduce of oxygen supplementation, decrease of oxygen supplementation to the tissue cells. If the decrease in oxygen in the blood, this is, we call it hypoxemia. Hypoxemia related either decrease in inspired air, there is no sufficient air, or increase in carbon dioxide, or hypoperfusion, less blood in the lung. Less blood perfusion mean less blood in the capillary in the lung. Ischemia Ischemia cause hypoxia. Ischemia mean less blood to the tissue, as narrowing in the blood vessel, so the blood will not supply the tissue with sufficient amount of blood. So this is, we call it ischemia, reduced blood. Sometimes oxygen decrease due to the capacity of oxygen, that there is not enough cell to carry oxygen in case of anemia. When we have anemia, there is decrease in RBC count, so there is no sufficient RBC to carry the oxygen from the lung to the tissue. We have other causes. We list the first one, hypoxia. We have physical causes, cause injury to the cell, like trauma, atmospheric stress, and radiation. Also, we have a chemical cause, increase in glucose, increase in salt and poison. And also we have infections like bacteria, virus, fungus, parasite. All these cause injury to the cell. Also we have nutritional balance. Here not we mean malnutrition, not malnutrition. Here we have nutritional imbalance. Maybe excess salt, excess sugar also cause cell injury, not malnutrition. And the other cause is immunological, autoimmunity also cause cell injury. And finally the genetic, also if we have a genetic cause, may lead to cell injury as a mutation. Now we must know that we have 6 mechanisms of cell injury. We have 6 mechanisms. You know, we study pathophysiology, the mechanism of disease. So we have 6 mechanisms of cell injury. The first one is ATP depletion. ATP, sorry, adenine triphosphate depletion. So in this case we have no energy. This is due to either hypoxia or ischemia. There is no sufficient oxygen supplementation, and there was no ATP production. And when we haven't ATP in the cell, so the pump of natrium, calcium will stop. This is transport Na and K from and to the cell. When it stops, so we have no energy. So if we have no energy, no oxygen, so there will be anaerobic glycosis. Aerobic with oxygen, anaerobic without oxygen. When we have anaerobic glycolysis, so there will be increase in lactic acid and may lead to acidosis, and this injury the cell. Also, if this pump is stop, the water will enter the cell, because natrium will enter the cell and followed by water entrance to the cell, and the cell will be swelled and maybe explode, maybe distract the cell. This is swelling. Also, if the cell swell, the ribosome will detach from the endoplasmic reticulum, and we know that the main function of ribosome is protein synthesis. So the cell will stop protein synthesis and it will be die. The other mechanism, the second mechanism, is mitochondrial damage, and we know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse, the place where energy produced. And when mitochondria damage, there will be leakage of cytochrome C, and this cytochrome C decrease ATP production. So if the ATP stopped, we must remember the first mechanism of cell injury. The third one is increased calcium entry. Also, when ATP is depleted and there is no active transport, the calcium will enter the cell. And when calcium enter the cell, increase mitochondrial permeability and activate special enzyme. When calcium enter the cell, it stimulate producing of special enzyme like phospholipase. This phospholipase destruct the cell membrane, because the cell membrane is composed of phospholipid. When we have enzyme that degrade the phospholipid, so the cell wall will be destroyed and the cell will be injured. Also, when calcium enter the cell, there will be production of protease, and this protease analysis or degrade protein. And the third one is ATPase. And so we have no ATP, because this enzyme degrade and distract ATP, which is the main source of energy. And finally, we have what we call it nucleo. This is the last one, which we call it the nucleotidase. This is distract the nucleotide of the cell, the genetic material, and the cell will be died. Now, what is the other mechanism? This mechanism in which the cell die due to oxygen species production, and this ROS or reactive oxygen species like peroxide H2O2, and the other one is superoxide, and finally we have what we call the hydroxyl. And these three ions will, or compound, will destruct the cell if they increase in concentration, and this is produced by excessive oxidation. So we have what we call it antioxidant to act as a scavenger to remove these products like vitamin A, D, K, E. These vitamins act as a scavenger to remove these products which lead to cell injury. The 5 mechanism is cell membrane damage by lysosome membrane. You know, in the cell we have what we call it lysosome, and this is lytic enzyme. When the lysosome released, it will distract the cell membrane and the cell will be died. The 6th mechanism is the misfolded and DNA damage, and as you know, this is the genetic material, and when it damage, it will lead to apoptosis. What we mean by apoptosis? Apoptosis mean programmed death of the cell. This is the programmed death of the cell. Here the cell membrane will be normal, but the other organelle will be died. This is, we call it apoptosis, the programmed death of the cell. And thank you very much.